Olivia Jade makes a redemption run that says more about privilege than anything. Facebook is getting sued up the wazoo. There's a mysterious illness in India, and Gabi DeMartino did something really disturbing. Hi friends, welcome back to another video exposing scams. If you like that sort of stuff, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like this video. And welp, let's get into the tea. So first up in today's video, let's talk about the disturbing actions of Gabi DeMartino. So Gabi DeMartino is a 25-year-old lifestyle and beauty YouTuber. But recently, Gabi has been in the news for being suspended from OnlyFans last Tuesday. Why, do you ask, was she suspended from OnlyFans, a platform that seems to be for everyone to post anything they want? You know, the type of content that's usually banned from other platforms? Well, that's because Gabi DeMartino charged people $3 to view a video of her exposing herself as a child. Like young child, like literally a toddler, which is literally distributing child pornography. Now, this is disturbing for a number of reasons. First off, I can't imagine how people who paid for that video would feel. Being tricked into viewing someone exposing themselves as a child or flashing themselves as a child is horrible. The video itself was just teased with the caption, "Won't put my panties on." But the thing is, Gabi never said anything about it being a child video. She never alluded to the fact that it was her as a child. And before this, it doesn't seem like she's ever posted child content before. So there was nothing that told consumers that this is me as a child flashing you. Like, this is going to be a child video. So imagine purchasing something thinking that you're gonna see 25-year-old Gabi on OnlyFans, because that's what the platform is for, and then being bombarded with this video of someone as a child, having no idea that that's what you purchased. I genuinely do feel really sorry for the people that purchased that video. The second reason why this is disturbing is most of her fans are children themselves. She seems to have an age group of fans and followers who are 14 years old, you know, minors basically. It just sets a really dangerous precedence and a really horrible example for her child followers. And a lot of her children followers defended her when this scandal broke. And that makes me sad because they don't understand how inappropriate this is. They can't comprehend it. And now one of the influencers that they look up to is doing something like this, and they're going to normalize it. That scares me, how dangerous it is for her audience and their perception of how wrong this is. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't only morally wrong, this is legally very wrong, what Gabi Martino did. In the US, distributing child pornography is a Class D felony, meaning that Gabi could face serious legal trouble for this. Serious legal trouble. So how did Gabi respond to the outrage of this whole situation? Gabi tweeted out, "This video was a goofy throwback family moment that I wanted to share with my personal OnlyFans fancy babies." The fact that she calls her subscribers or followers fancy babies on top of this kind of makes it weirder. Is that just me? I'm sorry that this wasn't thought out completely. I apologize. The video is now down. I am sorry again if this came out wrong. Whoopsies! Then Spillsesh here on YouTube, who is iconic, tweeted, at Gabcake, "You better make a statement ASAP about this OnlyFans shiz. You better not be trolling with kids' pics and thinking that's okay." Agreed. This isn't something to troll or to joke about. Then Gabi replied, "A childhood video of me on the phone saying, 'Nanny says put your panties back on,' and jumping up and down and laughing. I'm sorry I didn't think that one through. Period. A home video I love to share with my friends, and I use my OnlyFans as a Finsta page where I share stuff as I would with friends." Okay, but that's not the purpose of the platform. Most people use it for a completely different reason. You can't just sit here and play innocent with this situation. You just can't. Like, I don't even know what's worse. If she intentionally posted the video on OnlyFans to troll or to make it into some sort of joke or make some sort of controversy out of it, drum it up, because, you know, YouTubers like to drum up controversy to get their name out into the public space more. Or if she genuinely didn't intend for it to come across that way and it genuinely was an oopsie. Because how thick-brained, no offense, but offense, how thick-brained do you have to be to post something like this on OnlyFans and be surprised when people are like, this is a little messed up? And be surprised when people take this the wrong way. Gabbi also made an apology video once the news started to spread. That video, in my opinion, though, basically just said the same exact stuff and was just one big oopsie.
Recently, my lack of judgment and poor decisions have led to a very, very serious issue that needs to be addressed. Never in a million years did I think something that I thought was so innocent could be looked in such an ugly way, and I think that's where the problem lies.
Didn't mean to, sorry. The thing is, child pornography is a huge issue. It is not something to joke about. Not something to joke about. I'll put some important facts related to that subject up on the screen right now, just because it is genuinely an important issue and a huge widespread problem that needs to be addressed. There are some amazing organizations out there like Thorn. Kendall Ray, an awesome YouTuber on here, talks a lot about them and works with them, who help stop this kind of thing from spreading. But overall, it is not a subject to laugh about. It is not a subject to troll about or to post about or to make light of. That, to me at least, is the most disgusting part of this situation. Is that either way, Gabbi made light of an extremely serious situation that harms so many people. This also leads into an interesting conversation regarding the platform OnlyFans. DeMartino is now the third influencer to scam people on OnlyFans, like legit scam people on OnlyFans. The two before her being Bella Thorne and Tana Mongo. I'm blanking on how to pronounce her last name at the moment. Mongo, right? Both of which teased something as if it was going to be content that it wasn't. Basically, the OnlyFans version of clickbait. And people paid for something that they did not get and were upset by that. And these situations beg the question of whether or not OnlyFans will put more regulations in place and monitor the content going up there, which is good for the consumers as a lot of them have been scammed, but bad for the creators on OnlyFans who have been operating legitimately, whose income might be messed with now because a few influencers decided to act foolish on OnlyFans. I'm not sure if anyone who watches my videos is on OnlyFans, but if you are, I would love to know, first off, have you found OnlyFans to be legitimate? I know a lot of people are saying you can make an insane amount of money on OnlyFans, but whenever people say that, my scam detector alarms kind of go off because, you know, nothing comes easy. Obviously, we all know that. So have you been able to make legitimate money on OnlyFans? First off. And second off, are you pissed at people like this? Do you think influencers who are causing trouble on OnlyFans will lead to a change in the platform that might mess with your business? Or are you confident that things will relatively stay the same? That's definitely a subject that I want to research further, OnlyFans and where it's going and how it's doing at the moment. I just got the sweetest message from my moderator, Mark. Love you, Mark. You're the sweetest. Next, is Facebook finally coming to an end? Several lawsuits have come out against Facebook literally overnight. I don't know what was in the air, but all of a sudden people were like, yeah, we're not down with Facebook anymore. We've had enough. This has gone on for too long. We're gonna put an end to this. On Wednesday, December 9th, the FTC and 40 states went after Facebook and accused Facebook of illegally buying off its rivals to squash any potential competition. This is particularly interesting to me because a huge figure in Silicon Valley is Peter Thiel. He's on the board of Facebook. He was one of the founders of PayPal, and he very often talks about monopolies and how for a business it's ideal to create a monopoly.
One that I put particular stress on is the idea of doing something that's valuable and that other people are not doing. If you're building something that hasn't quite been done and has this unique aspect, you have a chance to create a monopoly, which is how one really does well in business.
So the fact that people are going after Facebook, basically saying this is a monopoly, is really funny to me, because that's kind of what Peter Thiel has been saying that they've been doing all along. Federal and state regulators investigated Facebook for over 18 months and found that Facebook's purchase of Instagram and WhatsApp eliminated competition that could have one day challenged Facebook's dominance. Like, yeah, that's clearly what they were doing. I mean, I don't know if anyone didn't know that. That feels like kind of common knowledge. Both Instagram and WhatsApp were rising in popularity, and a ton of people were joining the platforms of different demographics that Facebook hadn't yet captured. So they're like, yeah, let's buy this so that we don't have to worry about it, and we can also acquire their audience and their users. This is what always kind of confuses me about regulators. Why are they so slow to stuff? Things that are common knowledge, all of a sudden they'll be like, yeah, so Facebook is kind of trying to take over all social media. We've known this. Facebook, the company that no one except moms selling MLM products and conspiracy theorists want, yet the company that continually forces itself onto absolutely everyone. Facebook has officially become the Comcast of social media companies. Prosecutors in the case against Facebook said that Facebook should break off the company's WhatsApp and Instagram, and that new restrictions should apply on future deals.
I'll say billions were thrown at smaller companies in an effort to get them to sell. The two most glaring examples of this unlawful scheme were Instagram and WhatsApp. No company should have this much unchecked power over our personal information and our social interactions.
This is so fascinating to me, because this lawsuit could literally change the entire tech landscape and social media as we know it. So what do you think should happen? Should Facebook relinquish Instagram and WhatsApp, or is that ridiculous? Moving on to even more horrifying news, I apologize. A mysterious illness in India has hospitalized more than 300 people, and one person has died. Patients in the state of Eluru, I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, reported a range of symptoms, including seizures, loss of consciousness, and nausea. This is all happening while India is fighting its current virus. Let's just call it the 2020 virus for fear of the YouTube algorithm. For this current 2020 virus, India has the world's second highest number of infections. Can you guess who the first is? Can you guess who's winning on the highest number of infections? Can you guess? So to add to that, this mysterious illness in India is just scary. I can't imagine what doctors in India are feeling at the moment. I would be stressed. Majorly stressed. Also, I could never be a doctor in general. I could barely handle being a server at Olive Garden, so. The weirdest thing is all patients that were hospitalized for this mysterious illness tested negative for the 2020 virus.
Right now, they are still yet to determine what has caused this illness, because the test samples have come back. They have initially collected the blood samples and the spinal fluid samples from the victims who were rushed to the hospital yesterday and day before yesterday. And the test reports have come back normal from the blood samples and the spinal fluid samples. For now, they have sent the samples for further analysis for cellular and molecular analysis.
So that was not the cause of this illness and this illness's symptoms. Instead, it's something different that has not been figured out yet. Luckily, 180 patients have now been discharged from this mysterious illness, and the rest seem to be stable, so that's good. But it's just so bizarre that 300 people would randomly get sick like this, on top of what's happened in 2020 already. It's all scary. I'm happy that more people didn't get sick. I'm happy that most people were able to recover from this, and I just hope that nothing more comes of it. And the last subject in today's video is Olivia Jade's return to the public eye. If you don't know who Olivia Jade is, she is a YouTuber, an influencer, and an extremely privileged young lady whose parents are Lori Loughlin, a famous actress who had a star role in Full House, and Massimo Giannoli,
Fashion designer Massimo Giannulli.
A fashion designer who founded Massimo, a mid-range clothing company with incredible fashion designs like these. And if you already know about this, chances are you've also already heard about the college admissions scandal. Long story short, because there's a ton of in-depth videos on the situation, Lori and Massimo paid $500,000, $500,000 to get their two daughters into USC, which included things like having Olivia Jade pretend she was on the rowing team and pose for a photo as if she was rowing. Olivia's parents are both currently serving time in prison after pleading guilty in May. Lori Loughlin admitted to one count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud, and Massimo pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud and one count of honest services, wire, and mail fraud. Lori Loughlin specifically requested to serve her 2-month sentence at California's Victorville Federal Correctional Institute after pleading guilty. Victorville has a history of housing white-collar criminals and celebrities. Recreational activities at Victorville include Pilates, spin class, yoga, personal training, and landscape painting. So you mean a retreat? Please, after this video, watch my video on the prison industrial complex. After knowing all that I know for researching that video and then knowing this about how this extremely rich and privileged person gets to have basically a long retreat of doing fun and relaxing activities in prison, while so many people who are in prison mainly because of poverty and lack of access to education are serving time in prison, doing prison labor for large corporations. It just feels so twisted and wrong to me, and I can't believe that this is a thing. I can't believe it. While a ton of other families were also involved in this college scandal, aka college scam, Olivia's garnered the most publicity because not only are Lori and Massimo public figures, but because Olivia Jade is also a public figure with a pretty large YouTube following. After this scandal broke, many were quick to find videos of Olivia claiming she didn't really care about school and that she was way more interested in partying.
But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know.
Which was kind of a huge slap in the face to people who have worked so hard to get into their dream school. I can't even imagine how those who didn't get into their dream school would feel knowing that Olivia Jade got to just pay her way into whatever school she wanted. So let's just say the internet really went for Olivia Jade. But I will say it is still kind of unknown how much involvement Olivia Jade had. Olivia Jade claims herself that she had no idea what was going on at the time, but a lot of people were like, but you posed for a rowing video when you don't row. What do you think was going on at that time? What do you think was happening? Like, just thinking of me as an average person, if my mom were to come up to me and be like, hey, can you pose for a rowing photo? I would be like, why? So after this scandal, Olivia Jade basically went into hiding and disappeared off the internet for months and months. Until this week when Olivia and her PR team decided it was time to start the redemption tour. Her first appearance was on the Red Table Talk, a show hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith, Willow Smith, and Adrienne Banfield-Norris, Jada's mother. Before Olivia Jade appeared, I really think Adrienne summed up the whole situation so well.
I just found it really ironic that she chose 3 black women to reach out to for her redemption story. I feel like here we are, a white woman coming to black women for support when we don't get the same from them. It's just, it's bothersome to me on so many levels. Her being here is the epitome of white privilege to me.
I definitely think the entire dynamic of a white privileged woman seeking redemption in 3 black women is just kind of strange. It's a little bit of a strange picture, for sure. There's a lot of other interesting parts in the Red Table episode, but something that I think was particularly interesting is when Olivia Jade talks about the scandal and when the scandal first broke, and says that at the time she didn't understand why everyone was so upset.
When all this first happened and it became public, I remember thinking, which my thoughts are completely different now, but I remember thinking, how are people mad about this? Like, I know that sounds so silly, but in the bubble that I grew up in, I didn't know so much outside of it. And a lot of kids in that bubble, their parents were donating to schools and doing stuff that advantage. There are so many advantages. It's not fair and it's not right, but it was happening. Right. And so when this first came out, I was like, I don't really understand what's wrong with this.
That part was particularly strange to me. First off, because your parents broke the law. They legit broke the law. How could you be confused why people were upset with that? Unless you think you're above the law. And second off, you wrongfully got into a college that you didn't deserve to get into. You took opportunities away from others. You used your privilege to take a spot away from someone else. People who really wanted that opportunity and really needed it. So I think the fact that she didn't understand why people were upset really says a lot about privilege itself and the delusions that being in an extremely privileged world produces. I can only imagine that years and years of growing up extremely rich and extremely privileged can produce this ideology that you're above the law in some sense and that money can get you into everything and it can also get you out of everything. It's like your morality becomes twisted. So I definitely believe her on the Red Table Talk when she talks about how other people around her had done very similar things to get into college. I have a feeling that besides what we already know, like people donating large sums of money to a particular school and then all of a sudden their kid gets into that school, etc. I have a feeling besides that there is a ton of other schemes and scams that people do to get their kid into college. Meanwhile, average students are dealing with more and more competition and more student debt. And the most interesting thing that I don't think has been fully addressed is meanwhile, the colleges are the ones that are profiting the most from all of this because they get to take in wealthy people's money and charge students an insane amount. Overall, though, I do think Olivia Jade is very young and we all make a ton of mistakes and grow. And when you grow up in an extremely privileged household, I'm sure that it can give you a privileged outlook on life that you kind of have to unlearn to enter into the real world. I'm sure this was a huge wake-up call for her, and I do hope that she learns and grows in a genuine way. Though this whole subject has outraged a lot of us, I think that the people that were truly at fault are serving their time. Whether or not the prison that they're serving it in is fair is up for debate, but they are serving their time. They did plead guilty. So do I think she should be blamed forever? No, but I'm also not the only person in the world, and it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to support or forgive Olivia Jade. That's not my business. And that's the end of today's video. Shout out to all my Patreon members that are up here on the screen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. My merch is also right below this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.